If a retinal tear happens because of pulling by the vitreous in the back of the eye, and yet someone does not have any pulling of the vitreous, and yet there are holes in the retina, what explains this? Let's talk about it. Hi, my name is Zach Oki. I'm a retina specialist here in Irvine, California. This is a conversation about what we call peripheral pathology, that is, holes, tears, rips, etc., along the equator of the eye. What is their origin? I think in this conversation it's important to delineate between two specific things, that is, lattice degeneration and atrophic holes. Lattice degeneration refers to thinning parts of the retina, usually along the retinal periphery, which develop during the onset of eye elongation. All of us are born with a very small eye. We're all farsighted, but then as the eye develops, it gets longer and longer, and for some people, there are parts of the retina where the retina decides not to develop anymore, and consequently, there's what we would refer to otherwise as a stretch mark, something we call lattice degeneration. Within these areas of lattice degeneration, we'll occasionally find little holes in the retina, what we call atrophic holes. The important thing about lattice degeneration is that it implies that there's a higher lifetime risk of retinal detachment, regardless of other important details. What I mean by that is that if someone is nearsighted and doesn't have lattice degeneration, but another person is nearsighted and has lattice degeneration, that second person has a higher risk of detachment compared with the person who doesn't have lattice degeneration. If you're interested in hearing more about this stuff, I have a multi-part series just describing lattice degeneration. Now, sometimes atrophic holes will develop on their own spontaneously, even without any stretching or thinning of the retina. This happens to people of all descriptions, nearsighted, not nearsighted, etc., but it's definitely more common in people who are nearsighted. The theorized causation of an atrophic hole in the way I'm describing it, not within lattice degeneration, but just solitary, is ischemia. Ischemia refers to a situation in which there's inadequate blood flow to sustain the life of some tissue, whether it's the brain, the eye, a tip of a finger, whatever. The way blood is delivered to the retina is special. Just like every other part of the body, it's unique in some way, particular to the organ. The blood that goes into the retina originates from the back of the eye, near the macula and the optic nerve. But by the time the blood reaches the area just in front of the equator of the eye, the blood flow is sparse. It's so sparse, in fact, that the blood flow essentially ceases to exist, and the retina says goodbye forever, and in that particular location, a hole develops. When we consider just an atrophic hole on its own, not within lattice degeneration, there's some degree of uncertainty about the specific risk of retinal detachment from it. We know that there is a risk. I've treated patients who have a solid